The Republican Party's presidential frontrunner was convicted by a jury of his peers on 34 felony counts. That is the reality the Republican Party must now grapple with, if they were into reality. So that's an issue. But what makes this all even more difficult for the GOP is that Trump's conviction has precisely zero to do with President Biden. Trump was convicted in a case brought by a New York City prosecutor who does not report to President Biden. Trump is facing another 10 criminal charges from another local prosecutor in Georgia who does not report to President Biden. Even the two federal cases against Trump were brought by an independent special counsel who neither takes orders from nor coordinates with President Biden. And so Donald Trump has reacted the way he traditionally does when reality does not fit his preferred narrative. He lies about it. He claims without evidence that President Biden is the one who is really pulling the strings.
These are all Biden trials. They're all Biden cases. These aren't cases. These are Biden indictments. This is using the Justice Department to go after your political opponent.
Joe Biden is a threat to democracy. He's weaponizing law enforcement for a high-level election interference. Crooked Joe Biden ordered his top political opponent arrested. Oh, who is that opponent? Oh, it's me.
Trump has repeated some version of that lie over and over again for the past 2 years. But now he is his party's presumptive nominee. So every elected Republican in Congress must now attach himself or herself to that lie, no matter what reality dictates. And today we saw exactly what that looks like when Attorney General Merrick Garland testified before the Republican-led House Judiciary Committee at a hearing ostensibly about oversight of the Justice Department.
For the first time in American history, we do have a presidential administration that's working to put its opponent in jail. I mean, that's a fact.
You're intentionally allowing the department and the agents therein to engage in political prosecution of their opponents.
The lawfare we've seen against President Trump will do great damage well beyond our time in public service.
At one point in history, Republicans used to just excuse Trump's lies or pretend they didn't hear them. No longer. They have taken a knife to any tether that still binds them to reality and are now just floating away into the fact-free universe of Donald Trump like balloons or seagulls in a stiff wind. And it's not just the hardline MAGA wing of the party anymore. This was Congressman Jeff Van Drew, a so-called moderate from the state of New Jersey, trying to take a shot at state prosecutors Fani Willis and Alvin Bragg.
He ran for office saying he was going to put Donald Trump in jail. Alvin Bragg and also, again, the prosecutor in Fulton County, Georgia, they ran on that. And that's wrong.
Now, Congressman Van Drew directed those comments to Attorney General Merrick Garland. But again, Merrick Garland has no connections to the prosecutors in Georgia and Manhattan, Fani Willis and Alvin Bragg. And whatever your reservations about elected prosecutors threatening to criminally investigate members of the opposing party, Congressman Van Drew was making that argument while defending this guy.
She should be locked up, tell you right now.
She should be locked up. She should.
Lock them up. You should lock them up. Lock up the Bidens. Lock up Hillary.
Donald Trump, more than any other politician, is literally famous for wanting to jail his political opponents. But over the weekend, Trump tried to write that moment out of history.
Hillary Clinton, I didn't say lock her up, but the people would all say lock her up, lock her up. Okay, then we won. And I said pretty openly, I say, all right, come on, just relax.
I didn't say lock her up. I know it was a long 27 seconds ago, but here it is again.
She should be locked up, tell you right now.
She should be locked up. She should.
I should also note here that Donald Trump's claim that he gave up trying to prosecute Hillary Clinton after he won the election is also very much a lie. We know from special counsel Robert Mueller's report that Trump was fixated on the idea of prosecuting Clinton and actually pressured his first attorney general, Jeff Sessions, to do just that, to prosecute Hillary Clinton. Oh, but that whole thing, that's been wiped from Republican memory. Here's what Congressman Jason Smith told conservative media today while Merrick Garland was still testifying.
Attorney General Garland is not acting like the Attorney General of the United States. He's acting like Joe Biden's personal attorney. Well, that's not how it is.
Okay, so as Congressman Smith was accusing Merrick Garland of acting like President Biden's personal attorney, Merrick Garland's Justice Department was delivering opening arguments in the criminal trial of Joe Biden's adult son, Hunter Biden. If that is the kind of service you get from your personal attorney, maybe you should get a new personal attorney. For the record, in case your memory has become, untethered to reality, Donald Trump spent 2 years complaining that his first attorney general, Jeff Sessions, wasn't acting enough like his personal attorney. Then Trump fired Sessions and hired Bill Barr, who spent the rest of the Trump administration acting a lot like President Trump's personal attorney. But according to Republicans, Merrick Garland is the one doing the president's bidding. The thing is, Republicans are now realizing it is hard to claim you're the victim of a rigged justice system when their presidential candidate has spent his whole political career trying to rig the justice system. Merrick Garland, for his part, was not taking any of the bait.
I will not be intimidated, and the Justice Department will not be intimidated. We will continue to do our jobs free from political influence, and we will not back down from defending democracy.